Sand between two sets of footprints pressed close together, then gone. That's the image Hudson keeps from their wedding night. Regina barefoot on the hotel patio, dragging him by the wrist toward the shoreline at midnight. "Walk with me," she'd said. Just that. His feet had sunk into the cold sand next to hers, two trails weaving side by side until the tide erased them both. He remembers laughing. He remembers thinking, this is the whole rest of my life. He did not know that night how many times he'd replay it. He did not know a single set of footprints could mean so much later when there was only one trail leading toward the water, and it wasn't his. 6 days into the honeymoon, Hudson wakes up alone. The sheets on Regina's side are cool, not rumpled and recently left cool, like she's been gone a while. He sits up slow, scanning the room out of habit more than worry. Her phone's gone. Her sandals are gone. Her sun hat, the ridiculous wide-brimmed one she bought at the gift shop, is gone too. He doesn't panic. That's not how he's built. 12 years running reef transects off contested coastlines teaches a man to gather data before he reacts to it. So he pulls on shorts, grabs his room key, and walks. The lobby is quiet. A cart of pineapple slices sweats in the morning heat near the breakfast buffet. Out past the infinity pool, past the tiki bar with its stools stacked upside down, the beach opens up gold and empty, except for two figures near the waterline. Regina, and a man Hudson doesn't recognize, until he does. Ashby, her college boyfriend, the one whose name used to come up in stories that always ended with, "but that was forever ago." Hudson stands at the edge of the patio, feet still on tile, and watches his wife of 6 days stand close to another man while the sun climbs orange behind them. His chest does something complicated, not the movie version of jealousy, not fists clenched fury, something quieter and colder, like water dropping 10 degrees at depth. He doesn't run down there. He doesn't shout her name across the sand. He just watches. Counts the distance between their bodies, notices she hasn't touched him, notices Ashby has stepped in twice, and both times she's stepped back. Facts first. Always facts first. He takes the long way down, along the boardwalk instead of straight through the sand, buying himself 90 seconds to think. By the time he reaches the beach, Regina has already turned, and her face does something Hudson will remember for years. Not guilt, startled. Genuinely, visibly startled, like she'd forgotten anyone else existed on this stretch of coast, let alone her own husband. "Hudson," she takes a step toward him, then stops, like she's not sure which direction is safe. "This isn't, I woke up and went for a walk and he was just here." "Here," Hudson repeats, flat, not accusing, just holding the word up to the light. Ashby smiles the way men smile when they think charm will do the heavy lifting. "Small world, huh? Didn't know you two picked this resort." "Funny," Hudson says. "We booked it 8 months ago." "Yeah, well," Ashby shrugs. "Easy. Too easy. Guess some things just line up." Regina's eyes flick between them, and something in her jaw tightens. "Wait," her voice drops. "You said you were here for a work retreat. You said Kauai." "Plans change." "To the exact same resort? The exact same week?" She isn't asking him anymore. She's asking herself, out loud, working through it in real time, the way Hudson has watched her work through failed lab results before, turning the data over until it stops lying to her. Hudson doesn't answer for either of them. He crouches instead, quiet, and looks at the sand near where they'd been standing. 2 sets of prints, hers small and familiar, Ashby's deeper and wider, and they meet right here at the waterline, and then split apart again, like something practiced, like blocking on a stage. He already suspects. He's suspected since the second he saw Ashby's shoulders, too relaxed for a stranger, too rehearsed for a coincidence. But suspecting isn't proof, and Hudson has spent his whole career refusing to publish a hypothesis he can't back with a transect line and a water sample. "I'm going to go talk to the front desk," he says, standing, brushing sand from his knees. "About what?" Ashby's smile falters half a degree. "About whether this was a coincidence." Hudson looks at him, steady, unreadable. You said you booked last minute. Hotels keep records of that. The front desk manager's name tag reads Tavita, and she has the calm, unbothered energy of someone who has diffused 100 honeymoon disasters before breakfast. Hudson lays it out plainly. No accusations, just a question. Did a guest named Ashby book this week specifically, and when? Tavita's fingers move over the keyboard. Regina stands beside Hudson with her arms crossed tight over her stomach, like she's holding herself together by force. She hasn't said much on the walk over. She keeps glancing at Hudson's face, searching it for the anger she expects and not finding it, which seems to unsettle her more than if he'd yelled. There it is, Tavita turns the monitor slightly. Reservation made 4 months ago. Room requested specifically on this floor, floor 3, ocean-facing, same wing as yours. She pauses, reading further. Actually, there's a note here. Guest called twice asking to confirm which unit you two had booked. Regina goes very still. He called the resort, she says slowly, like tasting something rotten, to find out which room we had? Front desk isn't supposed to give that out, Tavita adds, almost apologetic. But sometimes guests get creative. Says here he mentioned being your wedding planner on the second call. I don't have a wedding planner, Regina says. Her voice cracks slightly on the last word. Not sadness, fury finding its footing. We planned it ourselves, just the two of us, in a courthouse and 40 people in my aunt's backyard. Hudson watches her put it together, piece by piece, the same way he's watched her diagram a bleaching event on a whiteboard, data points connecting into a shape neither of them wanted to see. This wasn't an accident of geography. This was engineered. Ashby hadn't stumbled onto their honeymoon. He'd tracked it, called ahead, requested proximity, and then waited on a beach at sunrise for Regina to wake up alone and wander into frame. The two sets of footprints from that first night flash through Hudson's mind again. His and hers, laced together, private, theirs. And now this morning's version. Her prints and Ashby's meeting briefly at a waterline that was never supposed to include him at all. I saw it early, the second I saw how he was standing. Too comfortable. People don't get that comfortable by accident. Regina looks at him, startled all over again, but for a different reason now. You knew? On the beach? You already knew? I suspected. I don't act on suspicion. I act on facts. Now we have facts. Security finds Ashby exactly where Hudson expects, lingering near the pool bar, waiting to see how the morning would resolve in his favor. He doesn't run. He tries the smile again, the same easy shrug, right up until two resort staff in navy polos flank him, and a man introduced as the property security lead, Ferran, asks him to gather his things. This is insane, Ashby's voice climbs, cracks at the edges. I booked a room. That's not a crime. Ferran's tone doesn't rise to meet him. You called our front desk twice, pretending to be a wedding planner to find out which unit a married couple was staying in. That's a violation of our guest conduct policy. You have 40 minutes. Ashby turns to Regina, and for a moment the charm drops entirely, replaced with something more desperate. Regina, come on. You know this isn't... I just wanted 5 minutes to talk to you, alone. That's all this ever was. Then you should have called, she says. Steady now. Steadier than Hudson has heard her all morning. Not booked a room 40 feet from mine and waited for the one morning I'd wake up before my husband. Regina, you need to go, Ashby. He goes, not gracefully. There's a last comment tossed over his shoulder about her being naive, about Hudson being boring, safe, predictable, and none of it lands the way he wants it to. Hudson doesn't dignify it with an argument. He just stands, with his hand light on Regina's back, saying nothing, letting the accusation dissolve into the ocean air where it belongs. They walk the beach again that evening, after the heat breaks and the tide pulls back, to reveal a long, clean stretch of wet sand. Regina keeps stealing glances at him, like she's still waiting for the anger to surface, delayed, "You're not gonna yell at me," she says. Not quite a question. For what? Being asleep when someone lied his way into your morning? Hudson shakes his head. "I watched you the second I saw you two down there. You kept stepping back. That told me everything I needed." I keep thinking about how it would have looked if someone saw a photo, me on a beach with my ex the same week as my wedding. But that's not what happened. He stops walking, turns her gently by the shoulder. "What happened is a man spent 4 months planning a moment, and you didn't give him one single thing he wanted." Her eyes well up, and she laughs, short, wet, disbelieving. "I love you. I love that you went to the front desk instead of losing it on the beach." "Data first," he says, and she swats his arm, and for the first time since sunrise, the tightness in her shoulders lets go completely. They start walking again. No destination, just motion. Behind them, 2 sets of footprints trail off into the wet sand, his longer stride, her shorter one, drifting close, then apart, then close again, the way footprints do when 2 people aren't trying to match each other, just trying to stay near. Not performance, not a scene staged for someone to walk into, just theirs. The tide will take these too eventually. It took the ones from their wedding night. It'll take tomorrow's. But some things get left behind anyway, not in the sand, but in the person who chose to wait for facts instead of reacting to fear, and the person who chose, without hesitation, to want facts over flattery. Some honeymoons get remembered for the sunrise. Theirs gets remembered for what came after it, the quiet, ordinary decision to trust each other, on purpose, every single morning, long after the footprints wash away.